don't put your career on hold to have a baby. This is something that is really dear to me because I work a lot with interior designers and, well, a lot of my friends are architects. And it's something that I find that comes up over and over and over again. And I think this is relevant for anyone in the design industry, whether it's fashion, interiors, architecture, or even construction. Um, a lot of the things that happen to us as primary caregivers to our children, and usually this is women, but it's not always, we find that when we take time off to have children and literally put our careers on hold, we lose confidence in ourselves. We have missing years in our CV that, although we can explain them, are still frowned upon. And it's more difficult for us to find work after we've taken that break. It's harder for us to get back into work. We have a lot of missing knowledge because the industry's changed. We feel a lot more, we get this imposter syndrome. We're disconnected from the industry. We feel isolated, alone, because we've been spending our time with children. There's this stigma around taking the time off. How come you took so much time off? I've even had a friend who found it really difficult to get back into work as an architect because it was really looked down upon that she took extra time to be with her kids, which is madness. But this is the reality of the industry that we work in, and this is why I wanted to make this video, because I don't think we have to stop our careers. What I always suggest to my mentees who are in the process of starting interior design businesses or architecture businesses, I say keep one foot in. And it's exactly what I've done to have my own child. And it's something that has allowed me to spend every moment with my child and not give up anything. I was there for every single part of her first 3.5 years of life. And I'm really grateful that I could do that. And I would like that for everyone else. But I've also been able to keep my career at the same time and not have this big gap. And the way I've done that is by literally just keeping one foot in. So what do I mean by that? Specifically, this is obviously for interior design and architecture, and obviously my niche is starting a career in interior design, especially if you want to work for yourself. So obviously that is my specific angle. But just keeping it a little bit broader, that these days, post-pandemic, governments are allowing people, are pushing businesses to be more open to more flexible working hours or more flexible working conditions. So if you're somebody who doesn't have or who isn't able to work from home, or try and fight for things that can help you. So like, later starting hours where you can take your kid to childcare, or where you can have your children at home for all you can work days at home. Fit, like, every industry is different, but especially, there are ways. So don't just stop at the first hurdle, because companies are becoming more open to it. So get an idea and try it. And that's basically what I did. I tried. I was getting projects through the door. It was the busiest we've ever been when I got pregnant. And I decided that I would take on less projects, but be very specific with the projects that I would take on. And so that is what I did. I was in a very lucky position because we had already started our mentorship. So we had already 2 different sources of income. But at the time, I was the main, not breadwinner, I suppose. At the time, we had just created a business together because my husband's business, thanks to the pandemic, had literally gone bust. And it wasn't as though we could rely on someone else or anything else. We created this, and at a time when we were fearful that what if having a baby would stop everything, in a way we couldn't. And so we found a way to get through it. And because of that, I think something that I would say to my mentees even before I had a child is don't cut yourself off completely. Stay inside, even in a community, to try and stay at least in the knowledge, or at least, keep speaking to interior designers or designers in your industry to make sure that you don't isolate yourself. Don't just completely cut yourself off. Keep interested, keep a foot in. Whether that is just by being part of an industry body, being part of a community like ours on InterDesign or our mentorship, or by studying. So studying is also a way to fill those potentially years of time where you could be seen as just taking time off to raise kids, which is exactly what it is. But you've taken a break from your career, and that is the angle I'm taking, is try to keep one foot in, keep learning, keep being part of the industry, even if it's in a very small way. So this is obviously my angle on it. Up to this point, it's worked for me very well. I have managed, obviously there's, there were different balances, and I was afraid to say no to projects because I'm ambitious. I love what I do, and I felt like I was a failure because I was now slowing down. But the reality is it's not forever, and it's only slowing down for a period of time. It's just, a new phase of my life, and I'm about to come out of this phase because my little girl is now going to school this year. So I think for those of you who don't want to put your career on hold to have a baby, like me, I didn't want to, there is a way to do it. And the way to do it without burnout, and the way to do it without, the mum guilt is real, always believing that, your child is suffering because you're working. It doesn't have to be that way. Just keep one foot in. Obviously, there are things that you will need to do differently. You need to work around your children. You need to create a new routine that works around them. So obviously I couldn't work the same hours because the same hours that my child was awake, I needed to be there. So obviously my routine now is very different to what it was when I was working without a child. So I had to find a way to do that in a way that worked for me. I know a lot of mentees that I work with, they are morning people. So they get up a lot earlier than before the kids come up and do a bit of study before then, or they do work before then. And, really simple things like batching, cooking and things like that can really help you be a little bit more effective and efficient with your time. One of the things I found was like the benefit of me continuing to work while I was raising my child was not only my mental health, because those first few months, I suppose, I was lower because I wasn't able to work, and I felt like all of a sudden everything I had ever known wasn't I had a child late. I had her at 41, so my whole life up to that point was my career. And it felt like a huge transition for me to just be this cow, this milking cow that gave, this child everything, which was obviously the hugest pleasure in the world, but was also very difficult of a mental shift for me. When, my career was important to me, and obviously was important to bringing money into the household. So, but it wasn't a negative thing. My needs were being met by me continuing to work and also being a mother. And by being able to find that balance, by being able to have one foot in, it didn't have to be all in, it was just one foot in. And I think that is the difference that I'm trying to say, is you don't have to, it's not either or. You can have just a little bit, one little finger in the pie. It made me a better mum, and it made me healthier because I needed to look after myself, get fit, be healthy, eat well, make sure my child was eating well, so that I could be there as a very present mum for my child. So I do believe that it is possible to do both. And the biggest mistake, I think, for those of us who are the primary caregivers for our children is to just go, I don't have the energy. I just can't think of it. And it's harder. I think it is harder to do that, especially, I have to say I have a very, or if not the most amazing supportive partner. And not everyone has that. So I appreciate, it's not easy, but nothing ever is. Having kids isn't easy, so it's never going to be easy anyway. Starting a business is also not easy. Running a business is not easy. So all of these things, okay, add on, it's not easy, but there's a way. So find a way that works for you. And I suppose what I'm trying to say is slow down just for a little. It doesn't mean you have to put it all on hold to have your baby. If you find yourself in a position where you do want to stay involved in a community or study interior design topics and different courses, have a look at our InterDesign platform. It is a really fantastic way to keep one foot in the industry.